back to another edition of the Night Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again is my co-host, Richie O'Leary. A lot to talk about today, guys. We have a recap of the scrimmage from this past Saturday. We'll talk about everything Schiano said, everything Richie is allowed to say. Rutgers Scarlet Knights have 3 Olympic medalists from this past Olympics. We'll talk about them, give them their kudos, their shout out. Richie's got some recruiting updates on the football side, and we got a little bit more to talk about in terms of the Night and Day giveaway. But speaking of Night and Day, this podcast is presented to you once again by Night and Day Apparel. Beat the heat this summer with our hot, one-of-a-kind products. Temperatures rising. There's no better time to refresh your wardrobe with cool and stylish summer essentials. Whether you're planning a beach getaway, a picnic in the park, or simply lounging in the yard, we've got you covered. Visit our website today and explore a full range of summer essentials from pool floats and spatulas to bathing suits and tank tops. If you use our promo code RutgersRivals, you get 10% off your purchase, and you can use that as many times as you want. Shop now and keep shopping.
Some new gear too. I mean, the Greg Schiano Rutgers is all in. T-shirts, hoodies, really cool. Long sleeves, blackout T-shirts coming out Thursday. So, yeah. I mean, pretty cool.
Some really good stuff. Got my Night and Day mug here, drinking my coffee out of. But let's talk about this scrimmage. So, Schiano is obviously very tight-lipped about what is able to be said.
Yep. High
level, how did the scrimmage go this past Saturday?
High level, I thought it was pretty good. I thought the offense is looking a lot better than it used to. That's not a slight at anyone. It's just a fact. The quarterback plays were pretty good. Greg talked about Ethan. Now he did go out of his way to say Ethan missed a couple shots, deep shots on comeback routes and stuff. And he said he would like to have him again. There was also some issues with the microphone that's now in the quarterback's helmet. It cuts off with like 15 seconds left on the play clock. Mm-hmm. That's going to be an issue. It's just something you have to adjust to. It's a little complicated because you want to tell them as much as you can. And, with 15 seconds left, there's still a lot that can happen in terms of audibles, in terms of the play completely changing. So it is a little tough. That's going to be an adjustment period. Offense as a whole, like I said, the tight end group, it's not the greatest. He even said it's not the greatest experience-wise, but he does like some of the things that those guys are doing. I think Kenny Fletcher is obviously going to be the one that we keep talking about more and more. We talked to him last week. Very high on his production, very high on his potential, I should say. But yeah, I thought overall, though, it was probably more offense than defense talk, but I think that's just solely because we know everything about the defense. It's the same defense as last year for the most part, minus Max Melton, really. And it's always been pretty good. Now they're getting better. I still think they're going to have to adjust a little bit because he did mention that Mo Toure and Tyreen Powell are a little bit limited at the moment. That was a little shocking to people. Maybe not the Powell one, but the Toure stuff. But from what I was told, it's basically nothing. He'll be perfectly fine. It's just something minor, nothing to worry about at all. But you did get a chance to see guys like Moses Walker, Dariel Jabome, kind of step up in those new roles. Abram Wright's right there as well. Yeah, for the most part, it was just more offensive talk than anything, and that's kind of what everyone wanted to see anyway. They wanted to see what the new look offense looks like under a new quarterback and a new wide receiver room, a new tight end. But high level, it's basically it's looking like it's going to be a pretty good year for Rutgers.
Yeah, I think Schiano, he opened his presser saying he basically give the same answer for any question people are going to have. He saw some really good things, and at other times he said, thank goodness this is only practice 12 because we have a lot to get cleaned up. He's encouraged by a lot of things. If you just notice the general chipperness that Schiano has to start the presser, he's smiling, telling people, I'm sure you guys had plans that you're missing out on, but we got in some good work today. A lot of what I'm gauging, what Schiano says is more of a vibes, meter. I think Schiano is, feeling really good and really happy about where his team's at overall, because you've seen how miserable he can look when things aren't going well, which you've seen in the 2.0 era a few times, especially early on. But like you said, it sounds like things are progressing. The offense certainly has looked better. He talked about Ethan's accuracy. He thought he did well, but like you said, he missed some deep shots. I thought one of the cooler quotes he gave was a question Craig asked. He asked Schiano, about a lot of teams are, or a lot of national media are calling Rutgers, the sleeper team for the CFP, a lot of high expectations. What is Schiano's take on the national attention they've been getting? And Schiano said, you hear all this stuff and it's like poison. If it's sitting on the counter, it doesn't harm you. But once you start drinking it, you're in trouble. I think that's so true. Like over the years, it's so easy to like read your press clippings and think you're the shit because, people saying they think you're going to win this or that, or coming off a big win. How many times do we see a letdown? I think no further than, the Louisville game, you get blown out the next week and get Cincinnati. What did you think about that quote from Schiano, the whole poison concept? I thought that was pretty cool.
I wonder if he's just been sitting on that one for a little bit because like he has these good quotes once in a while. It was like the barbecue one. Like every guy in the world thinks that they can do two things, and it's like barbecue and coach football. That's an old school one. That's like 1.0 era. But he always has these like unique little quotes. But I thought it was interesting. But that's also just who Greg is too. Like you said it before, he's smiling. He looks pretty happy about how the performance went today, Saturday. And he's never going to reveal his hand, but he hinted at it a little bit with like the smiling and the smirking and all that. But he'll just never just come out and say, because you come out and say, hey, we're going to win 10 games this year. I can feel it. Like, we're going to win 10. And you don't win 10 games.
Yeah, he would never say that. No,
look awful.
98% of coaches wouldn't say that, though.
I know. Well, it's crazy. Like, I saw a UConn coach the other day saying, we play 13 games, we're going to win like 7 or 8. And I was like, wait, what? Like, don't say that.
Yeah, right.
Like, don't do that. But no, I thought it was it's interesting. He definitely is reading the press clippings. I mean, it's hard to miss them, especially if you're on social media whatsoever. Not even just social media, and it's in the newspaper now. Like Kirk Herbstreit's saying it, like Yahoo Sports is saying it, like everyone is saying Rutgers is a dark horse for the college football playoff. I hate to say it though, I want to toot our own horn. I think we said this before anyone else back in like May or June.
We have been hyping it pretty early, but Schiano, has been directly involved with it. Some of the interviews that he's done, the hosts are like, "Well, I got you winning this many games." It's like, well, that doesn't mean anything, basically. But there is nothing that Schiano is not aware of around the program that's been getting written about them, because he wants to use anything he can that is written for his advantage, whether that be, disrespect or, if he feels it's disrespectful, using that as, a motivator, or keeping stuff away from the team that is, unnecessary, like the poison. Like, you guys are going to be really good this year. You're a CFP contender. It's like, okay, that's an empty platitude. Like, you might think that, but that doesn't mean there's not a whole massive amount of work that goes into actually getting to that point. And I think thinking you're already kind of there to the mountaintop when you're just at the base of the mountain is kind of where this whole poison concept is getting at, because they haven't done anything this year. Yeah. Sure, they look good on paper. Sure, we all expect them to have a good year because of the returning players in terms of production from last year. The defense, was already one of the best in the nation last year, and they basically returned everyone, like you said, outside of Melton. The revamped looking offense, I think they'll be a lot better, but still, there's a reason why they put the ball at the 35-yard line with 60 minutes to go each Saturday. So we'll see how things go, or Thursday or Friday, depending on which game it is.
Yeah, that's a different story.
Let's go through some of the other things that Schiano said. It seems like, based on his comments, not only from the spring, when he kind of said he has a good idea of what the offensive line is going to look like, and then he reiterated that this past Saturday, saying, I think the starting offensive line is pretty well set. I think it's the depth behind them that's up for debate. Does this kind of jive with what you've been hearing and seeing? Like, is the starting offensive line basically locked in already?
Yeah, it shouldn't be too shocking. If you do the math and watch the clips and watch the videos and the photos they post, you can kind of figure out who it is. I don't know how much I can reveal, but it's like pretty obvious. Like, I can definitely say, like, I've seen multiple clips of Kobe Asamoah at right guard. I don't think that's super shocking. This is a guy that's been highly touted since his freshman year. I think he played a lot of snaps his freshman year, if I recall.
Yep.
It's just his lower body's just there. Like, you can't move him. Like, he's like unmovable, and he's a little bit smaller than some of the other guys on the line, but that also helps him get that pad level a little bit better. So they're pretty confident in him. And then that right tackle spot was it was all Tyler Needham in spring for the most part. Split with Reggie Sutton a little bit, and then we know Reggie's injury history. You can't count on him for a whole season. It's just not realistic. So I think he's going to be a rotational piece, whether that be a guard or tackle, because he's rotated at both over his 5-6 year career. But then they brought in Shedrick Rhodes Jr. and he's competing for the job. But I think it's either him or Tyler Needham. We've seen Needham in a couple clips, so it sounds like it probably is going to be Needham. But after talking to people, like I've been told, Rhodes can also rotate and guard a tackle. So that's like a solid 7 lineman right there, and that's kind of what you want, no matter what.
Yep.
No matter who the 5 are. I know Greg always says you guys look too much into the depth chart and too much starters. Like he doesn't even give us a depth chart anymore. Because these guys are going to rotate in a ton, whether it be not just offensive line, but like almost every position group. That's like wide receiver, running back's even going to rotate because you have a pretty damn good backup at running back.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's probably the solidified starting 5 if I had to guess.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And like you said, he does prefer to keep guys fresh and rotate them in, especially in the trenches. So I would expect, like you said, 7 or 8 offensive linemen to kind of be the primary group that sees the field this year. Another good question from Craig in the presser. He's asking kind of what the main difference is between last year entering training camp versus this year. And Schiano said we have more experience and guys that have done it in the game. So I think anytime that is the case, that people are going to have more confidence. There's not as much anxiety in training camp. What have you noticed as like something that really stands out between last year's training camp and this year's, if you have any that you can think of immediately?
I'd probably say that there's just a confidence among the coaching staff and with this offensive line group. Like last year, there's a lot of question marks. We didn't know what we were going to get. Now, mind you, it was a 40-year coaching veteran joining the staff, and Pat Flaherty. You know he knows offensive line better than probably just about anyone out there. And there was a lot of question marks on who was going to be the starter. I mean, hell, Brian Felter wasn't even a starter for game 1 last year. Now he's like a solidified preseason All Big Ten honorable mention. Like this is a guy that's like really made leaps and bounds, I should say, over the past year. So I mean, that's one guy. Like a lot of question marks last year about that line, and I just feel like there's really not many with this year. Now, obviously, the right guard and right tackle spots were up for grabs, but it seems like Kobe grabbed it in spring, and that was kind of it. Right tackle was a little bit different because they did bring in Shedrick Rhodes to compete, but they're still able to like hold off their competitors. So it's like it's interesting. I think, and Tyler Needham was pretty good before the injury.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how he does this year. But I think that the biggest difference is just the offensive line isn't a question mark anymore. On top of that, you can also say the most obvious thing. The quarterback is throwing the ball and actually hitting the receivers. And I hate to like harp on this, like the whole like Gavin Wimsatt thing, but we could talk about it now that he's gone. Like you said it on one of our pods, the training camp last year, he was throwing pick after pick, like in scrimmages. And it's just like, dude, like you can't win games like that. And then you see it cost him during the season. So,
well, I think it also kind of decided how they call plays all year. Like how many times on 3rd and 8 did we just run up the gut and then hope to set up a 4th and 3 so we can go for it?
Mm-hmm.
That is not going to be the case again this year.
No.
I think we're going to be able to be a little bit more versatile on offense in terms of like situations that make sense to throw it. We're going to throw it. Situations that make sense to run it. We're going to run it. And it's not going to be like we're playing with one hand tied behind our back. And that's not to say that Ethan is some kind of Heisman candidate level player. He's not. But he allows the offense to function on basic levels that we could not last year with Gavin. And I don't want to relitigate the whole Gavin versus everybody else thing. He's gone. Wish him well, but I do think the offense will be able to be more competent this year due to all the things we just mentioned.
I do have to say there is like I was looking through some Big Ten quarterback rankings like preseason. Almost everyone has Ethan at like 17, 16, 18 out of 18 schools. And it's just like, I don't see that whatsoever. I know his numbers weren't the greatest last year, but you also have to remember, like, I also think this is a product of Rutgers offense last year, how they just didn't throw the ball. They averaged 143 yard passing per game. Like, they're not going to be that bad again. Now, Ethan's numbers, in terms of percentage of completion percentage, wasn't great either. He also had one of the highest drop percentages last year too. He's getting a better offensive line, a better receiver room, and he's reuniting with his OC that he had a pretty solid year under 2 years ago. I think that Ethan is not nowhere near 17 or 18. Like just watching these other guys, like Mike Wright for Northwestern is easily 18 in my opinion. And that's not to like hate on him too much, but the Illinois kid's not that good. I don't think Maryland's quarterback's really that good. UCLA is going to struggle. Like I think Ethan's solidly in like that 12 to 14 range. I don't put him at 18 though. 18 is just insane to me.
Yeah, I think he's pretty squarely in the middle of the pack, and I think some context is lost as to what happened last year. If you look at the trajectory of his freshman year under Soraka, gets thrown into a whiteout game, his first start of his career, with I think he was named the starter on like a Tuesday, and they're going to State College on Saturday to play in a night game. Just any quarterback is going to look bad in that setting on their first start. But as the season went on, you saw some clear progression. You know, he finishes off the regular season with that incredible win at Wisconsin, big time rivalry game there, and then parlays that into the bowl game. He looks great against Syracuse, gets banged up. Soraka leaves, who's a seasoned, experienced OC, as we're all aware. And in his sophomore season, they have a first-time OC. They lost Mo Ibrahim, who was the program's all-time leading rusher. He was the Big Ten's leading rusher, I think, twice in his career at Minnesota. They replaced him with a total stud freshman in Darius Taylor. But Darius Taylor gets hurt early in the season. So not only do they have no running game at that point, they also lost the second-round pick, the center, Schmitz from the Giants.
Schmitz.
Yep.
Yeah.
John Michael Schmitz, the starting center now for the Giants. So they lost some critical pieces on the offensive line. They lost their star running back and the replacement for the star running back.
Mm-hmm.
They were in top 10 last year in terms of drops in the nation.
Yeah.
So there was a lot that went into why he had a step back last year. And I think we're going to see a lot of that get reset in 2024, given that he's reunited with his OC. He already knows the system. It's not like you're bringing in a transfer who has to learn everything. He knows it. He's got the relationship built in with Soraka. He's known him for years. Soraka has been recruiting him since he was in middle school, literally. Yep. This is not like the relationship is long-standing there. So I do think that people aren't really taking all of that into account with Ethan. I think they just see number went down. He must suck kind of from his freshman to sophomore year, which is a pretty it's just like a lack of nuance, like a lot of coverage with players and football and sports takes in general. So I think we sometimes being a fan of a school can be the worst enemy because you're a little too high on things. Sometimes it can be the best thing you can have in terms of you're trying to use that information for sports betting or something like that, because all these things are lining up that the national media or people outside the program aren't taking into account. And I think that the latter is true this year. I think we have information because we've been so ingrained in Rutgers that most around the program do not have, or outside the program do not have. So
just a lot of hatred on them. I'm not
going
to stand for the disrespect.
We will not be. One of the position groups that will look the most different this year is receiver. Schiano, in one of his comments, kind of went into the details there, just saying how it's like a really fierce competition and that he doesn't want to necessarily speak on, who he might think is starters. I think they pretty much know who the top group is going to be, but I thought he referenced some kind of details that you wouldn't normally think of when you're thinking of receivers, because he said sometimes what you see is just a guy catching a ball, but what you don't see is, did he release correctly? Did he take a poor angle on a block on a running play? Are they hustling on the backside to cut somebody off? There's a lot of like small nuanced things for a receiver that aren't easy to see, especially on broadcast tape. Like some of that only shows up in the All-22. And so Schiano wanted to kind of talk about to look into that and refrain on talking about leaders in the clubhouse for receiver. But I think it's pretty obvious who the top guys are going to be. I think Demir Miller and Christian Dremel for sure are locked in as the top two. And then you have a guy like Ian Strong, who he's gone out of his way to talk about. Ian Strong's been the star of a few social media posts, especially like the camping one. I don't think you're putting out a post like that unless he's going to be an impact guy this year. Yeah. So if I had to guess, those are the top three. And Schiano kind of said it in his last presser with the media as well, where he went out of his way to talk about Miller and Ian Strong. So that's my guess. And I think you're going to see a rotation of 6 or 7 receivers as well, who are all capable, who all probably would have started last year. So big jump there as well.
I mean, we raved about Benjamin Black in the spring. He's going to play some snaps. You seen Brantley. He raved about in the spring. Chris Long's back. You see him in the one clip from BTN the other day. Little toe tap. I don't think it was a touchdown. I think it was just short of it. But yeah, I mean, there's your 6 right there probably. And then you figure out maybe a freshman like Corey Duff steps up a little bit, or someone else steps up. George Fama-Toure is a guy that they've mentioned previously. So, I mean, this room has completely revamped itself. It's not just Christian Dremel like last year. It's a lot more than that.
Definitely. Is there anything else Schiano said during his presser that you wanted to hit on, or should we move on to some recruiting news?
Looking real quick. No, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, the tablet thing we didn't really talk about. We kind of did, sort of, when he talked with the microphone thing. The tablets are going to be cool. It's going to be clutch. I think it's all Apple branding for the Big Ten. I think that was the partnership they made. It was either that or Microsoft, but I think Big Ten made an Apple partnership. But it's going to help them a lot on the sidelines just to diagnose plays. And you see it in NFL games. You watch a single NFL game, it's all over. So
yeah, the quarterbacks are immediately sitting on the bench. They have a tablet in front of them, and they're going through the plays from the last drive. Schiano specifically mentioned something about how back in the day you used to have to physically cut up every piece of game tape, where it was like, here's all the cover twos, here's all the inside runs, here's all this, here's all that. And now in real time, they have somebody on the sideline who is flagging each play with different tags, so that after a series or something, they want to see all the flagged plays, they can go look at that, and all 6 of them or whatever will be right there, so they can have that teaching moment immediately rather than have to have somebody go into their, because obviously now it's all digital, cut it up in like some kind of video editing software and then send it off. Because you also have to think, like, when you have that immediate feedback, learning is just so much easier to do, where you can say, Ethan, come here, I want to show you what you've done in the last drive, and then show those 3 plays. You see how the safety drops here? That's when you got to throw that. Yep. Instead of, the next day at practice being like, hey, I want to talk about that second drive of practice yesterday. Yep. And then it's just not as fresh, and therefore it's not as easy to learn from mistakes. And it's just kind of like this psychology thing. Like you learn much more when you get feedback closer to the event rather than further away.
Now, I don't think it will be Rutgers, but I can guarantee you at least one college coach this year is going to chuck one of those and just break it or just put it over his knee or something. Like, it's going to happen.
Yeah, Bobby Knight style onto the court.
It's bound to happen.
I can see it.
Betting favorite, Deion Sanders, maybe?
Man, he's coming unraveled.
Yeah, just a little bit.
That is a problem we do not have, thankfully.
It's true.
But a problem we might have to do with some big programs taking some of our recruits away. Chase Linton, the defensive end from Georgia, and Braxton Kyle, the defensive tackle from Georgia, have both been offered by the Bulldogs, University of Georgia, in recent weeks. It's a good problem to have. It means that they're really good at evaluating the staff, which we should know at this point. But you kind of want top programs to want your prospects. It's unfortunate when they end up landing them. But what are you hearing on Braxton Kyle and Chase Linton in terms of how their recruitments might change with these new offers?
So I could talk about Braxton Kyle first, just because it's a little bit easier, a little bit more fresh. He did tweet out an offer the other day. He was one of 2 defensive tackle prospects to tweet out a Georgia offer. The other was a JUCO kid in Kelton Mickle, who's actually committed to Liberty. So you can see, you see Georgia's starting to unravel. Just saying, maybe not really, but they're Georgia kids, so it makes more sense that way. But they lost Christian Garrett last night. He's a defensive tackle, 4-star, decommitted from Georgia. More than likely going to end up at Georgia Tech. How the hell they pulled that one off, I'll never know.
That's crazy.
If you have the option to go to either, that's a crazy move. But besides the point, Braxton Kyle is up there on the board for them. I can't say exactly where because, of course, these boards are ever changing. They're constantly changing. So, I mean, if a kid like Mickle committed, I don't think Kyle's spot's there anymore. If Kyle commits, I don't think Mickle's spot's there anymore. There's also another guy from a Florida State commit, and Kevin Wynn, they're also kind of monitoring as well. So there's a lot of different options for them. I wouldn't say it's like 100% like he's going to flip, but I think they're going to try to get him on campus ASAP, probably for their first home game if possible. And the same can be said for Chase Linton. Chase Linton, they've been after for quite some time. He has a game this upcoming Wednesday, his season opener against Kell High School, I think it is. So it's going to be North Atlanta versus Kell in the night game Wednesday night. And I was told 2 Georgia assistant coaches are going to watch him. So there's a big push there as well. Now, he's also not at the very top of their board, but he's very close to it. They have a lot of other names they're looking at, a lot of Georgia kids for the most part, but it's going to be tough. They're not, I wouldn't say either of them is at the very tippy top of their boards, but I would say that they're very close to the top at defensive tackle and edge / linebacker / defensive end, whatever you want to call them. So they're definitely going to be 2 to monitor. I think more than likely, Chase Linton's the one that they like a little bit more of the 2, but 2 different positions as well. So that's the big thing right there. They want to get Linton on campus. They want to get Kyle on campus. They want to get him to visit. I would watch to see what kind of happens on Wednesday. I know our UGA Sports, the Georgia beat writer or / recruiting analyst, Jed May, is going to be at the game as well. He's expected to chat with Chase Linton, so we'll kind of figure out a little bit more about his recruitment, where things stand after that. But as of right now, Rutgers is doing a good job holding him off. I just don't know how much they're going to be able to, because these are 2 Georgia kids. It's Georgia. 2 of the last 3 national championships are Georgia. It's like, it's hard not to go there if you're a Georgia kid.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. Like, that's a tough one, but we'll wait and see what happens.
But just to have 2 kids committed to your program who the home state school wants, and you're thousands of miles away, that is a testament to not only the evaluation of the staff, but also the recruiting chops of the staff in general. So it sounds like Rutgers, they're still committed, and Rutgers has a chance, but it's going to be a tough battle to keep them committed and keep them away from University of Georgia, which is a bummer. But I think when you get 30 commits in today's day and age, it's tough to keep all 30 in general. But we'll see how things go. We'll keep you up to date. When we hear more, we will definitely let you guys know.
Yep.
Let's talk about some Scarlet Knight Olympians. So 3 former Scarlet Knight athletes have won medals in Paris. The first was Casey Murphy, the backup goaltender for the United States women's national team. She won a gold medal. They defeated the home country. They defeated Brazil, I believe, on Saturday, 1-0. Kalia Copper won gold with the women's basketball team. She had some really clutch plays down the stretch of that game. The U.S. won a surprising nail biter against France. They won by 1 point, but they are gold medalists once again. I believe that is like some crazy number straight of gold medals for the women's basketball team. And then Sebastian Rivera fought through the blood rounds of freestyle wrestling and won a bronze medal at, I believe, 57 kilograms for freestyle wrestling.
Correct.
So he is the, I believe, first medalist wrestler in program history. So big congratulations to all 3 of those athletes. Really made Rutgers proud. I believe there was a hammer thrower as well that finished in the top 10. Yep. Who also had a good showing. But these are huge feathers in the cap for the athletic department, and overall just super proud to see former Scarlet Knights on the biggest stage.
Copper is like amazing. Multi or WNBA champ, WNBA Finals MVP, 4-time All-Star, and only played 19 minutes in the group stage. Makes no sense to me.
Yeah,
Multiple
that's crazy.
Group stage games, so combined 19 minutes, and then the last game she scores. What was it? I was just looking at it. 11 or 10 of the 22 fourth quarter points for the team. Plays 20 minutes in total in the final game. It's like, I don't know. Maybe I hot take. USA basketball, both coaches are not that good. Steve Kerr's her rotations were a little questionable at times.
I think, I like Steve Kerr as a coach, so I'm going to have to disagree with you here.
That's fair.
I thought the way that he wants to play, where it's a lot of spacing, a lot of outside shooting. He kind of had to make some tough decisions. Like, I know a lot of people were giving him hell for the whole Jason Tatum benching. I think he had a DNP the one game. I don't know. I thought he did a pretty masterful job the last 2 games at least. You're down 17 against Serbia. You didn't lose your cool. I think it helps when you've been in those kind of situations time and time again. Like Steve Kerr, playing in, how many NBA finals as a player, and as an assistant, he won some titles. As a head coach, obviously he's won 4 titles and played in another 2. I don't know. I think he did a pretty good job coaching in general, but agree to disagree on that one.
Yeah, I just question using Devin Booker as your defensive specialist at times. I feel like that just doesn't work very well.
Yeah, I mean, you have guys like Drew and Derek White who are, on the team because of the defense.
Exactly.
And maybe you could have played them a little bit more, but I think you just didn't want to sacrifice that much offense. And with Drew, you don't really.
No, offensive wise, I mean, 100%. Like, he's got the offense. It's his defense that I question. But besides the point, good news is we probably don't have to deal with. I forgot you're a Sixers fan. So Embiid might not be on the team next Olympics. I'm just saying. That's what it said. That's what I read.
I'd be surprised if he was, just given what he's 30 now, be 34 the next time the Olympics roll around. Yeah. I do think there'll be so this year was so much different than how most Olympics go, where once you've gotten into your mid 30s, you typically don't see guys want to come play for the Olympics. But I think it's a combination of 2 things. One, a guy like Steph Curry, he's been having so much success in terms of NBA success that he hasn't really been able to play in the Olympics when they've rolled around. Like in 16 and 21, he's playing 120 games a year for 5-6 seasons straight, and you just don't get the recovery time if you go and play in the Olympics as well. And same thing for LeBron. Like, LeBron played in 8 straight finals. Like, he hasn't played in the Olympics since probably 2012, if I remember correctly. KD's been banged up, so he hasn't been able to play in the Olympics recently. So it was cool seeing all 3 of those guys really just kind of take charge. Like, it was those 3 that were like the tip of the spear, and they were in the crunch time lineups and things like that. And it's clear they still got it, even if LeBron, can't necessarily have that kind of level of effort every game for an 82 game season. I mean, he's almost 40 years old, but it'll be interesting to see if a lot of players want to make a push to play in it again, given it's going to be in LA, given it's going to be a U.S. Olympics. We'll see. But I think the team will look drastically different in 28, given how many stars are aging out and how many young guys. Like, you might see, I guarantee you're going to see a big kind of push for some younger guys from the 25 class to potentially be a part of that roster. But they're all going to be like 21 years old. And I was looking at a stat recently that in the last 20 years, there's only been 2 guys under the age of 22 to make an Olympics team. And one was Keldon Johnson. He was an injury replacement late in the process in 21. And I forget the other one, but guys like Cooper Flagg, Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, they're all going to be 21 years old and 28. So I don't think it's realistic necessarily for them to be a part of the Olympics, but it's happened in the past. The other was Anthony Davis in 2012, I think. He was coming off of that freshman year.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. So it doesn't happen often, but I think given certain circumstances, it could. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
The last thing that we have to cover today is I want to give everyone a reminder. We are running another giveaway through Night and Day. If you'd like to be involved, you have to either write a review on Apple Podcasts mentioning the Night and Day giveaway, or you have to that'll give you 2 entries. If you'd like to just leave a comment in the YouTube comments below and mention Night and Day giveaway, you'll also be entered there. The second thing you have to do in order to be eligible to win this, you have to follow Night and Day Apparel on Instagram. Their Instagram handle is just night.and.day.apparel. The link is going to be in the show description, but you have to be following them, and you have to leave a comment or a review in order to be eligible for this contest. Now, what is this contest? Night and Day is giving away 3 products for the lucky winners. You want to go over which products they're going to be? Because I think I might have misspoken last week.
Yes, I have to give me a hot second. I just had the message popped up. We're going to post it on our Instagram too and all that other good stuff. It is going to be, where is it? Birthplace bottle opener, Birthplace long sleeve t-shirt, or the new blackout t-shirt that's about to come out Thursday. You guys can choose whatever one you want. And then the Natty Champs t-shirt. So you get a little TKR t-shirt involved as well. I'll probably end up sending whoever it is a Night Report t-shirt, and Could probably give away more too. Give away like 6 free months or something like that to the Night
Oh,
Report.
interesting.
Yeah, well, you know what? Throw some more in there. Why not?
All right. So if you want to be involved, you know the steps. That is all I've got today. We are still, I know we teased, having some special shows. They are still on the horizon. I don't want to speak about any of them until they're finalized, but we have some really good content for you guys over the next few weeks to get you prepared for this hopefully historic football season and also basketball season in November.
Yep.
But is there anything else you'd like to hit on before we head out of here?
I don't think that's pretty much it. Probably won't hear from Greg until Saturday again. Second scrimmage is next Saturday. That's
Saturday, right?
Or this upcoming Saturday. Jeez, I forgot it's Monday already. That's really it, though. We're just kind of waiting. We'll have more from practice on Tuesday. Just kind of waiting for the season. Just counting down the clock.
Yeah, no, it's an exciting time of the year, even if summer is slowly coming to a close, as I'm sure a lot of you teachers out there are dreading, a lot of you students out there are dreading. But it does bring football season on the other end of that rainbow. So really excited for that. I want to thank everybody who has liked, subscribed, reviewed us. It's really appreciated. We don't take any of it for granted. And it really helps the show grow and for other people to find the show. Thanks for everybody who's told a friend. Got a lot more shows for you coming up before the season, so stay tuned to your podcast feed. Stay tuned to the YouTube channel because they will all be posted there.
Ooh, forgot this. Just actually happened at 10:30 this morning. McCourty brothers are headlining the new Rutgers Hall of Fame class.
Ooh.
So they will be honored at, I think it's Akron at halftime this year, I believe. I got to double check on that one, but they're definitely getting honored at halftime one of the games this year. So.
Very well deserved, and I'm glad they're going to be enshrined together, even though they weren't in the same graduating class. Well, I guess they might have been the same graduating class, but different draft years. But that is great to hear. Huge congratulations to them. Huge congratulations to our Olympians who medaled and who competed. But for me and Richie, this has been another edition of the Night Report podcast. Signing off.